You're a writer.
Dobar večer ljudi, dobrodošli, ili ti ga na engleskom, hello people, welcoming to festival. I'm pleased to see that you're here. This is the third final day of the Festival of Technology and Entrepreneurship. They couldn't use simple words like business. They had to use entrepreneurship. It sounds more sophisticated. Welcome to the third and final day of this festival. Today it's the International Day, so we have basically people who came to Split and just couldn't find their way around. So how they managed and why did they come to Split, we'll hear from them. How they manage in business, I don't know. Well, that's why they're here to tell us. Well, it is an international day. That's why we have people from Zagreb here at the first panel, like Mr. Franjay Borozan, Marko Kovac, and Bruno Stojakovic. And also we have a guy from Denmark, which his name is Morten Smolby. They'll all be introduced by the moderator of this panel, who's a guy from England, north of London, from what I hear, Michael Prier. Michael is living in Split for a couple of years now. He's into cooking, which is not a surprise since he's from England. But I don't know if he's going to be very cheerful tonight. We're all aware of the recent tragedy that happened. Chelsea was defeated by Dinamo, but well, hopefully he'll manage to put up with that tragedy. Anyway, I'd like you to give him a big round of applause, Michael Prier.
Careful. I'm up. Excellent. Good evening. Thank you very much, Skrojo. That's your name, right? Skrojo? Something like that. Yes, I'm going to be welcomed by our lovely panelists. I was speaking too loud. They've cut me off already. Typical. Always happens to us English. Just want us to shut up. But we're back. Okay, so I'd like to welcome up to the stage my lovely four co-panelists today. First up, let's welcome Frane from Siskit. Round of applause, please. Round of applause. And we also have Marko from Repsley. We have Morten from Get By Bus. I've been watching Game of Thrones recently and Lord of the Rings. So, and finally Bruno from Play Safety. Join me up here. They have no idea what I'm going to ask them, which I prefer. So have a seat. Get comfortable. No, I'm gonna look at all of you. Make sure you're behaving. Good. Oh, okay. Also, Bruno, could you open the water for me, please? The water, bottle of water. Oh, it's not. Okay, it's normal. Thanks. I just wasn't sure if it was going to go everywhere. So, how is everyone? Does everyone have a beer? Someone has an ice cream. Lana, beer over there. What are you drinking, Tony? Gin tonic. Oh, gin tonic. Sophisticated. Anything else? Nothing on the front row, I hope. You're all underage. Good. Okay, guys, you've got a microphone in front of you. Your first challenge is to give us a little pitch about your company's journey from how it went from being just a little baby to being maybe, I don't know, an annoying teenager or maybe a dying old company. I don't know where you are. So let's start with you, Morten, from Get By Bus. So you've got a minute.
Turned on or what?
It should be on there. Give it a try.
Yeah. Okay.
Test.
Hello.
Oh,
yeah,
there we go.
It works. Okay.
So you got a minute. I'm not going to time it. So
Okay.
go for it.
Hi, I'm Morten. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Get By Bus. I started the project back in 2011 because I thought it was a little bit complicated to travel around with ground transportation. And initially, I just wanted to solve the problem for Croatia. But soon I saw that this was not only in Croatia, this was an issue. It was also a problem in the neighboring countries. So instead of launching a project only for Croatia, we launched Get By Bus and intended to become the biggest in this region. But the problem also existed in other places. So we actually scratched that, or ditched that plan and said, okay, we want to build it. The next step is whole Europe. And that's basically what we were doing until 2019, where we managed to have ground transportation products in around 50 countries around the world. And then came COVID. As you know, for travel, COVID was not the most fantastic thing. But we used the time to work on our product and develop also a platform for ferries. And we found a company which has been doing similar things to like us in other parts of the world. So we joined them, and now we're in a group of with 5 companies around the world. And today we have products in around 80 countries, and hopefully in a few years we will cover the whole world. That's at least the goal.
Excellent. Thank you, Morten. So put your hand, actually make some noise. I don't want hands up. Make some noise if you've heard of, oh, okay, round of applause first. Make some noise if you've heard of Get by Bus. Okay. And scream if you've used Get by Bus. Excellent. And scream if you've used a discount code by Get by Bus. Not many, but there are discount codes to go out, right? So yeah, so
Many more.
there are many, many more discount codes. Yeah, just reach out directly. Just send him a LinkedIn message. No, I'm messing. They're up there. And I think we have the Get by Bus team here somewhere, right? Yeah, there they are, in a line to speak to those. They'll give you your discount. Excellent. Okay, let's go over now to Frane. Give us your pitch, how you went from just a tiny company to...
Do I need?
No, you need that one. Yeah.
Hello. So we were started in 2009. I was back then a Windows administrator, and me and my co-founder, we always wanted to help administrators and engineers in the Microsoft space to make their job easier. So we started with the Windows Server, then Microsoft, when it started more with the Microsoft 365, we moved to the cloud, and today we have a product that's used by over 3,000 companies around the world. That's basically management and security for the Microsoft 365. I'm the only one here not working in Split, but I'm actually born here in Split.
We forgive you. We forgive you. Okay, thank you, Frane. Syskit. Do we have any company here using Syskit, apart from these guys, who are unfortunately getting married? Anyone? No, you need, okay, well, this is your chance to network and sell some more.
Yeah, I agree.
Excellent. Okay, let's move over to Marco from Repsly. Over to you.
Yeah, so where should I start? So the company was founded in 2008, and at that time I was a freelance developer. And basically my initial only goal was to create a product that I could code once and sell many times. And I didn't really care about the domain or whatever. I just wanted to have something repeatable. And then the opportunity came when a friend of mine who was a manager in L'Oreal cosmetic company, he wanted a product actually that helps their field salespeople to enter purchase orders, and they wanted to see where they were when they entered those purchase orders and what they really did at the point of sale. And I talked with my co-founder to be, and he saw the same opportunity in a few other companies, and that's how we started actually developing. And in the first 6 years, we've been developing the product and selling the product in Croatia, Bosnia, Slovenia, Serbia, so that was our world. But we always wanted to get out and to sell the product online. And then in 2014, we managed to close some deals in California first, then in Australia. Then we closed the funding round from investors in Boston, Massachusetts, and then we moved our headquarters there. And actually today, so just fast forward, we are about 80 people company that has half of their people development is in Croatia, and the rest marketing, sales, finance, everything else is in the States. And we have roughly around 1,000 customers in about 80 countries of the world. Yeah, so that's the setup.
Brilliant, thank you. So I'm going to put it out to the crowd again. Has anyone ever bought services from Repsly? No one from Consum, Tommy, Interspar, Lidl, Plodine. How many supermarkets do we have here? Too many. Okay, last but not least, Bruno from Play Safety. Give us your pitch of your journey so far.
Thank you. Yeah. So, hi guys, I'm Bruno, co-founder of Play Safety. It's not gaming, it's not anything adult connected. We are actually developing a platform for maintenance and management, automatized, of course, of outdoor sports equipment and playgrounds. And we are still a baby compared to my colleague panelists companies. However, I believe we still have some good accomplishments to brag about. So we started in less than a year. And we already closed first round of funding from VC, the EU, and recently got a fellowship from US Department of State. And we are launching next month, Zorana, right? and getting we already have first 10 customers on the way from Croatia, but we can scale throughout Europe because our solution is essentially a centralized management system that helps owners to assess, inspect, and manage their fixed physical assets, in this case, this type of equipment, which are regulated by European safety standards, which is applicable in all EU countries. So, yeah, that's essentially it. Sure.
Thank you, Bruno. So we've got an interesting panel here because we've heard of people who have had acquisitions spreading globally. We've heard of people joining partnerships to take them into new markets. More, I guess, bootstrapping as well, growing organically, and then someone a bit earlier in their journey. So what about you guys? If you're part of a startup that's maybe only operating in 1, 2, or 3 countries, make some noise. Okay, I was going to say, if everyone was from here and it was here from a huge company, that'd be surprising. Okay, what about if you're operating in about 10 countries? 10 countries? Okay, silence. And what about if you're operating globally? Okay, I hear there's a little wave at the back because she couldn't whoop because she's smoking. Typical Splichanka. Okay, let's move on. Now, what I want to know is that moment when you thought, fuck, we are actually global now. What was that moment for you, Morten?
Well,
Yeah, now it works. Okay. I mean, the point where I actually thought now we can manage to go global was when we joined forces with the Israeli companies, because I mean it is a very hard business to build out, because actually ground transportation is way more complicated than flights and other things, or trains, because you know the tracks are in one place, but the bus might stop in another place. You have a lot of things which makes it a quite complicated business to manage. So it was always hard to see how we should move into Asia, because also the language barrier. I can't read Thai, I can't read all these languages. So it was basically when we joined forces with Bookaway, who already had companies in these countries. Then I thought, okay, now we can actually get there.
What about you, Marco?
So it was actually never fuck. We are becoming global. It was we are becoming global. So because for the first 6 years we were trying to do that, but we weren't not successful at all. And at some points we were desperate. I think it was in 2012 we had about 800 companies that signed up for our demo, and not a single company ended up as a customer. So I was pretty convinced that we are doomed. And that changed. So I could go in greater detail about this whole thing. I'm not sure if I should do it now or later, but yeah. So it's a pretty broad subject. So for quite a few years, we've been selling our product through personal contact. So it was meaning mostly I was the only guy in sales then. I was having meetings with our prospects, and I was doing demos that usually lasted for about 2 hours. And usually people were really, amazed by the product. And most of them, about 50% of them, ended up as our customers, which is pretty good percentage. And then when we put the same product online, then people were repelled basically by the product. And it took us quite some time actually to figure out what it was. And to cut the long story short, the problem was that the product was too complicated. It was solving too many problems, too many issues. And yet, when we actually cut down the functionality of the product to about 40% of the total functionality that we had at the time, and when we simplified the user interface and actually made the product in such a way self-explanatory, then things started to happen. So basically, in order to sell the product, as the conclusion, in order to sell something, it's not only about what you have and how good the let's say the solution to problems is, but it's about how usable the product is and how well it can deliver itself in order to do something. Because one has to put himself or herself into the shoes of the customer. And our customers that were buying the product online, they had the attention span of about 30 seconds. And if the product didn't explain itself in those 30 seconds, if it was too complicated, then they simply went away. So that was our conclusion.
Brilliant, thanks. And finally, over to you, Marco. Pranis, sorry.
So we started from day one. We wanted to be a global company. I just tried to remember the first customer was IT office from States. The second one was law office from States. The third one was, I believe, from Norway. So my recommendation would be never start a company local. So from day one, start globally, because the Croatia is a very small market. So we have 3.8 million people, if I'm not wrong, and we are so small compared to some other countries around the world. So if you want to start something from day one, think globally. So whatever you do, just try to think how this product can be used in Croatia, in States, in Germany, in Norway, in Denmark, everywhere around the world.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so for those that are just joining now, welcome everyone, welcome, thanks for coming. We're just talking about how to create a global tech biz here in Croatia. So throughout the next 30 minutes, you'll be hearing different tips, suggestions, and how this team kind of moved from having maybe something that was small and local, even if it did have a global aim. Talking about global mindset, Bruno, tell us, what is your global mindset for place safety?
So I believe that the country you are starting the company in, you need to believe in that country. And I was living like for the last 8 years abroad, and I always wanted to have my own business. But let's say last 7 years, that Croatia would never cross my mind, because most of the people move out because of that reason, but then because they think there's no opportunities. But then you see also guys like this that did something, and that inspires you, and you decide to do the same. And I think if you believe in this country, you can also utilize its resources, and you can scale it. You can scale it from there. Like Estonia wasn't much better than Croatia like 10 years ago, and Skype started from there. So, I believe we could also do the same from Croatia. And I think we already have a product that's scalable, very scalable.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, that's it actually, and this ties in nicely with Split Tech City, right? Split Tech City is here not only to support the local community, but to show the international community how you can come to Split, set up a business or run your business from here and have a pretty amazing life. Everyone was calling Nicolina, oh, it's going to rain, it's going to rain. Is it raining here? No, maybe on Brač right now, but don't look over there. So here we are outside enjoying life, having a beer, gin and tonic. But the thing we want to know is, how do you get there? So you've touched on it slightly. We're going to go back to Marco. Was there like one key element that got you global? Frane talked a bit about that, having that mindset from the beginning. Was there something that really pushed you forward into becoming global?
So we made that mistake, So we wanted. So actually, I think it has something to do with the sense of self-worth or something, because we thought in this way. So we thought, like, let's first polish our product in this region while seeing people in person, and then when we are ready, then we are going to approach global market. And that was like the biggest mistake we made ever, because that the rules that are valid here do not have to be something that's valid outside. So if one wants to be global, one needs to be global from the very first day. So that's my take. And if we started earlier, we would save about 4 to 5 years, I think, of our development. Yeah.
No, that was good. The key element to getting you global was to change your mind shift, right?
Exactly. Just thinking in a different way.
Yeah, it's kind of thinking we don't need to have everything perfect, and we don't need to have everything perfect for Croatia. Let's think getting this perfect for everyone globally.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Morten, what about you? What was the key element to get you global?
Yeah, I mean, basically, basically we saw that Croatia was small, and the issues which existed here was basically the same everywhere. So it made sense from the beginning to go for as many countries as possible, because once the product is set up, it would basically work anywhere. So what our main obstacle, which made it hard in the way we had, was actually because we are a platform, we both have B2C and B2B. We actually need to find suppliers in the different countries, and that was in our case the main obstacle to get around, because you actually need to go around in the countries and meet them. But I think from a mindset, we wanted to do that.
Okay. Fran, anything to add to your earlier comments about mindset, or maybe another key element that got you global?
So when you are selling to the whole entire world, it's a lot easier, because you have like 7 billion people out there, and the probability that you will get better and more feedback is just more. So when you attack more people, you will always have more leads, more sales, more feature requests, more everything. So for us now, when I'm seeing, so we are in very specific business, working directly with Microsoft. So by default, our customers are global, so we cannot do anything locally, for example, in Split or even Croatia or even Balkan region. But just that amount of anything that you do with your company, when you are starting globally, it will help you decide and get feedback faster. So that's my take. Always, when you are doing something, think about different nations, countries, whatever. Just start globally from day one.
Thank you. Bruno, so you've got this mindset already, right? You talked about making sure that your product is compliant with EU safety rules, and at the same time, you're off to the States next year on this fellowship. So can you tell us a bit more about kind of how you made that happen? How did you get the fellowship? Like, how does that work? So you can go global, so you can network, meet these people.
Yeah, and that's all doable from here, So it doesn't matter essentially where you are. It's how you think. It's important you think like that from the beginning. And I believe also, like, okay, our product, it can be also applicable in other continents. This is why I'm going there next year, to essentially test the market, to see how it's gonna work there. What was the question again? How to get? Yeah, I essentially applied. Like end of last year. My girlfriend showed it to me. She's right there in the audience. And she's from the US, you know, she came across that on like, she saw an ad on Facebook and then told me to apply. And I waited till the last minute, of course. And then, and then essentially applied, wrote like why I think we could, you know, we could also like exchange this technology with them and like how it could also improve this business process in the States. Because from what I saw, they also don't have a solution as such. They just have different measurements, obviously, and they have different national standards. This is all connected to essentially metrics, etc. And yeah, then I was invited for an interview, and it was a lot of people, you know, and didn't hear anything for the last 3 months, and then I got it like all of a sudden, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So, thank you, girlfriend. But actually, I do know quite a number of people here in Split who have been on these fellowships. Quite a lot of them have been to the States, taken their product over there, developed it, improved it maybe, and then come back here with maybe a new lease of energy as well. You know, they've really come back, tried new things, and not just in the US as well. I know some of you guys have tried your luck in other markets, taking it there, pitching it to certain investors and stuff like that. So having that mindset, taking it over there, giving it a go. This isn't always done smoothly. You talked about understanding Thai, and you also talked about thinking about other people's needs from all over the world. Were there any cultural or linguistic awkward moments that you've encountered when working in these other countries? For example, once, instead of saying Međunarodna konferencija, I said Međurodna konferencija, which, you know, has quite a big difference. And then there's also some other words that you get muddled up. So let's go to Morten first, since you're also a forest here in Split. So
I mean, what was the question exactly?
cultural or linguistic mistakes?
I mean, I can't recall any particular one, except we have one partner. Let's say when you know, are in contact with them, and especially if you handle something on email, you're not quite sure if they actually got what you are talking about. But you know, eventually we always manage to fix. So that's that's more or less the only experience I have with that. I mean, I have so many colleagues who speak so many different languages, so in most cases we have no problem solving it. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, Marco?
Yeah, so there are some cultural differences. For example, so when I mentioned that we simplify the product in order to sell it online, it didn't work everywhere. It worked primarily in English-speaking countries, so I would say like United States, UK, Australia, a bit in South Africa, New Zealand, so that was basically our world. We sold something in Southeast Asia, but that was a little bit. But for example, this region here, let's say Russia, Mexico, South America, we couldn't sell almost anything online. So then we started with getting partners that would sell our product the way we were selling it before in Croatia, through personal contact. Because simply in some cultures, the market that we were targeting, those decision makers, they were not buying the products online. It was simply as that. So for example, to sell something to a decision maker in a company in Croatia or Bosnia, it would mean that I need to meet them in person, I need to have a lunch with them, I need to spend an evening with them or whatever. So that was the, let's say, given in most cases. And it was simply the same thing in Russia. But for example, meeting people in person in Russia was very different from meeting people in person in South Africa. So that was very different kinds of cultures. So that's why we were actually closing partnerships with different kinds of partners depending on the country.
Brilliant. No, great. Really good stuff. What about you, Frane? I don't know why I mixed up Frane and Marco. They're not even similar.
They call me Frane in English. So yeah, so for us, the biggest barrier is language, for example. So even today, our strongest market is, for example, States, UK, Germany. So where you have people that are fluently speaking English. So for us, that are the strongest markets. And for example, we don't have a lot of customers in Asia, in France, in Italy, in Spain, for example, Brazil or something like that. So for us, localization of the software is the key. So Marco mentioned that they are trying through the local partners, and we are also trying through the local partners. But for example, for us, the feedback is we need to localize the software. So if you want to sell, for example, in a huge in a huge nation like Spain, so all over the world you have people speaking Spain, you need to localize the language. I wouldn't worry about some cultural differences, because when you are working globally, of course, there will be always something. But that's the challenge of the business. That's the interesting thing. Of course, you will not understand something, but my suggestion will be, don't be afraid. So that will happen every day in your business, but you just you don't need to be afraid. Just try it. Just do it.
You're right. Like when you look out there, there are many companies who've made those linguistic or cultural mistakes, like the car pajero. In Spanish, that means something very different, but they still carry on with producing pajeros. So is anyone Spanish in the crowd? Or speak Spanish? Oh, there's one there. Okay, she understands. Good. Okay, we're going to find out who our crowd is, actually, because they're all a bit quiet. A couple of them are Instagramming, hopefully us. You can tag me. So let's find out. Okay, I want you to make some noise with your mouth and your hands if you're from Croatia. Wow, not many. Make some noise if you're from America. Surely they're not Americans. Americans are normally like, oh yeah! No? Okay, we'll see. We'll see. What about Canada? Any Canadians? None. Mexicans? There we go. What about English people? Scottish? Irish? Welsh? Separating us. France? Allez les bleus? Okay. Wait, where are the Croatians then? Croatia? Oh, there we go. What about Bosnia? Okay, well, Herzegovina. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there's a few of you. Thailand? Anyone from Thailand? Because we mentioned Thailand earlier. South Africa? Russia? What about Poland? One. There's more than one. I've seen you. Ukraine? Yeah, there's more than two. There's, oh God, people, terrible. Okay, let's spice things up a bit. We're going to move into a quick fire round. I'm going to ask you a question, and it's going to be a simple answer. It might not be simple, but it's just a one-word answer, okay? So we're going to start with you, Frane. Are you ready?
No.
Okay. So, it's tough luck. Okay, where did you set up your company?
Split.
How many countries do you work in at the moment?
160, if I'm not wrong.
How many countries have you visited? Ish.
15.
Ish. Good. Best country to work in?
Sorry?
Best country to work in?
Croatia.
Best country to party in?
Croatia.
Best country in the world?
Croatia.
One country you'd like to work with, but you don't at the moment?
Antarctica.
One country you'd never like to work with?
Russia.
Biggest Croatian global brand, in your opinion?
Ina.
The best Croatian global brand?
Konzum.
Konzum. Number of languages your website is in?
1.
Number of languages you speak? Don't count. One. You don't speak Croatian?
I don't count.
The biggest country of income for you?
States.
And your favorite Croatian entrepreneur?
Me.
Okay, let's go over to Marco. Okay, tell us, number of countries you work in?
About 80.
Okay, and number of countries you have visited?
I would say like 30-ish.
Yeah. Best country to work in,
US,
to party
Croatia.
in the world.
In the world, oof. I just came back from Iran. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. One country you'd like to work with that you don't at the moment.
I don't know.
One country you wouldn't like to work with at all. Don't say England.
Yeah.
No answer. Biggest Croatian global brand.
Infobip. I don't know.
Yeah. Best Croatian global brand.
Infobip.
Number of languages your website is in, or your product.
I think at the moment only English.
Yeah. And number of languages you speak.
English, Croatian,
Biggest country of income.
US.
And your favorite American entrepreneur.
American entrepreneur. I don't know. I don't have a special, maybe my mentors.
Your mentors.
They
Yeah,
were
good.
American.
Brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Okay, over to Morten. Are you ready?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, best Croatian global brand.
Karlovac.
biggest Croatian global brand.
Infobip.
Yeah. One country you'd like to work with that you don't at the moment.
Norway.
One country that you'd never like to work with. Sweden.
Somewhere in Africa.
Okay. Where there are no buses. Best country to work in.
Croatia.
Best country to party in.
Croatia.
Best country in the world.
Croatia.
Who picked the people on this panel? And how much did you pay that? No, I'm joking. I live in Croatia. It's beautiful. Number of countries you work in.
80.
Number of countries you visited.
Maybe 30, 35.
Yeah. And your favorite Dane that isn't you.
My favorite. Laudrup.
Okay. Yeah, good choice. Good. Okay, over to Bruno. Okay, where did you set up your country? Oh, your country, your company.
Oh, we are remote in Croatia.
In Croatia, good. Best country to work in.
Croatia.
To party in.
Spain is nice.
Yeah. Best country in the world.
Croatia.
Croatia. Biggest Croatian global brand.
I agree here with the guys Infobip.
Infobip. And the best one.
Best one, Crash.
Good. Number of languages your website is in.
I think it's 6.
Yeah. And number of languages you speak.
I count Croatian or no?
Yeah, yeah.
I do. Okay, then 5.
5. But you can't include Serbian and Bosnian.
No.
Okay, good, good.
Those are not.
Number of countries you visited.
I think around 35, 6.
Good.
something,
And finally, your favorite Englishman.
Englishman. Okay.
I'm here. Favorite English entrepreneur.
Okay, I want to say David Gilmour, but okay. English entrepreneur, Englishman.
Or woman.
Or woman. I don't know. Wait. Hardly. Yeah. Wait.
We don't
I'm
have
having
enough.
a block. You
It's fine, we don't
surprise
have
me.
enough.
You surprise me.
That was the point. That was the point, to get you stuck. Yeah, no. If you think of English entrepreneurs,
No, I
most
do.
people go for Richard Branson.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But some people don't like him. So.
yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you for those answers. And we're moving on now. We've talked a bit about your companies, talked about how you became global, what got you there. So now I want to bring us a bit local again. Talk a bit about Croatia. Yeah? We've got to talk about Croatia. There's a big Croatia in the room. So my question is, can you compare doing business in Croatia with another country that you work in, and tell us maybe one positive thing and one negative thing? So where's Croatia winning and where's Croatia losing when you compare, for example, working with American companies, with Croatian companies, doing business in America, doing business in Croatia, or any other country you do it in? So let's start this time with Marco.
Yeah, so I think it would be the easiest for me to compare Croatia and the US because I was living in both countries and doing business in both countries. Yeah, and so there are some differences as one can imagine. How do you want me to structure? Upsides, downsides?
Should we do the sandwich?
The sandwich, like good things. So good things about, let's say, I'll start with the U.S. So good things about the U.S. is because the whole culture compared with Croatia is shaped in a way that it supports entrepreneurship from the very beginning. There is a big ecosystem of already successful companies and individuals that one can learn from. So these are the good things. So the bad thing, for example, compared with Croatia in the US is that people need a lot of resources in order to do something. You know, that's unlike Croatia. So maybe I can switch to Croatia with this talking bridge. So in Croatia, from the very beginning, so we started in 2008. My first company was in 2001. Basically, the whole system, I felt it that way. The whole system was against me, actually. The whole system was trying to actually choke a little, let's say, a little plant before it even, you know, started to grow with, you know, bureaucratic stupidities, with taxes, with, you know, one can, you know, start counting. So that was bad. But what actually this whole thing taught me was that I need to really dig deep in myself and in my team in order to, let's say, fight the system and succeed regardless. So that was something that we taught at the very beginning, that we learned, sorry, at the very beginning. And also, we didn't have many resources. Actually, we had none, so we were bootstrapping the company. So from the very beginning, we needed to think in a way that the only actually source of money and the only source of fuel for the company was the money from the customers, which is the best money in the world. So we started thinking in a good way from the very beginning. For example, if one lives in the ecosystem where the investors are all over, and if they are giving a lot of money, then it actually corrupts the mindset of an entrepreneur, because then they start relying on some other money rather than the money coming from customers. So basically for us, as much as it was difficult, it was actually a good thing to start in Croatia, to build our muscles, because then when we get to let's say, more fertile ground, to the States, then we were really strong compared with local entrepreneurs there, most of them.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, Marko. Frane, do you agree? Croatia builds resilience.
Yes, I would agree. So in Croatia, bureaucracy is unbelievable. So the number of papers that you need to fill for the tax authorities and stuff
Are you
like
talking
that.
about now or before? Because now,
Now
it's
and before. It's the
now it's a
same.
lot cleaner. No, it's not the
It's
same
the
as 6
same.
years ago.
Even today, so
It's not the same as 6 years ago. That now you can open a company online. You don't even need to go to the sword.
but for example, operating stuff like invoices, like a business trip, like for example, you send a group of people, a team somewhere in States to the conference or something like that. They need to bring the receipt, the paper receipt, and everybody else just takes a picture of the receipt and they bring it to their accounting. For example, something like that. So I think that I would agree with Marko that, for example, States is built from zero for the entrepreneurship. And in Croatia, last few years they started changing things, but we can move a lot faster. So we need to support young businesses. We need to remove the boundaries that they have with this, for example, receipts, paper receipts or something like that, because I believe that entrepreneurs need to focus in business. They don't need to do some kind of accounting with the tax. That's only something that, because you are in the business, you need to do, but they need to remove that boundary. The good thing, for example, for Croatia, this is important for founders of the company is, for example, I believe that a tax, for example, the tax that we have on profit, it's very low in Croatia. The tax that we have on the capital gains is, for example, after 2 years, very low in Croatia. So those examples compared to the, let's say, more business-oriented countries like UK, Germany, States, something like that, I believe those taxes are lower here. Of course, for example, we tax much more the work, but we cannot be the best at and everything. But I truly believe that, for example, in 5 to 10 years, if we invest more, if our government recognizes, for example, IT as a huge source of income and beautiful people that are so smart, we could be beyond Estonia, Romania, Bulgaria, something. Just they need to recognize it.
Okay, thank you. We're going to quickly go to Bruno. One of the things that Marco picked up on was how maybe in America, because there is so much money flying around, there's this reliance on it. And one thing that's shifted in Croatia recently is this reliance on EU funding, even for businesses. So you mentioned earlier about getting an EU grant, which is great. It's investment, it gets you moving. But what's your view on, say, making sure that you don't become reliant on that kind of funding?
So we got also a VC funding, but yeah, also EU grant. So to make sure you're not relying, okay, I mean, you need to know how to manage the money. You don't have too much cash burn, and I mean, this is something that Croatia is very good for. You know, you can utilize these resources very good. I mean, compared to these other countries and other markets, these services you need here are quite cheap, you know, like, I don't know, if you need these designers, marketing, this kind of stuff, you know, to promote your product, that gets you the first customers, that get you the first income. They are, those are, can be, okay, operational expenses, right? Like they are kind of cheap, yeah. Accounting is cheap. It's as Frane mentioned, the taxes to some revenue percentage, like I think €1 million is like 10% or something like that. That's cheap. So it's in that sense, it's very you can utilize that to leverage that to get like moving faster, let's say, and scale from here globally, and then you get the money, which kind of, you know, helps expand the company from the revenue, right? So you don't rely so much on the investment.
Okay.
But yeah, that's essentially what we are
What
doing
you're doing.
right
Brilliant.
now.
So taking funds, investing where you need it to generate sales.
Yeah, and
it's
but
focused on
utilizing
sales.
like the local resources here, and that also helps to fuel the economy here, because we got also investments from abroad. So and we bring that money here because we pay local people to do all like 90%, right? Like local people we just rent like cloud abroad. Everything else is here. So and that's cool, I think. Yeah. So
Brilliant. No,
Yeah.
great. Okay, just on to our last question now. Did you know 42 minutes has passed? What would you bring from abroad to Croatia in terms of business? Something you've seen abroad. Morten, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I mean, everything what Frane already mentioned, everything with the bureaucracy, I mean, coming from Denmark, opening a company, doing a lot of stuff in Denmark, it's literally 5 minutes job. You can do more or less everything. Often we have the case, for instance, I need to bring registration papers from a company in Denmark, and everything is online, but when I need to give it to the authorities here, it needs to go to a lawyer in Denmark, be apostille and this, and they can just, you know, they can just go on the computer. It's public available for everyone, but it's not enough. So if these kind of things could be implemented here, it would make life way easier in all cases.
What would you take from Croatia back to Denmark?
I mean, the lifestyle. Yeah,
And what's more important, bureaucracy or lifestyle?
lifestyle.
Thank you. Marco, one thing you take from Croatia to America?
Yeah, maybe lifestyle, but I would be more specific. This kind of mindset that the work is not everything in life. You know, maybe that's
Brilliant, yeah.
or the most important thing in life.
Yeah, brilliant. And over to Frane.
what would I bring to Croatia? I don't know, a lot of money. So the local companies can spend it, and that the IT business can grow even more. And what we can export, I believe that we need to export more our knowledge, our brain, because I truly believe that we have the ability to work with the largest companies in the world, and that we have the knowledge and everything that is required. So I would even more export our knowledge to the outside countries.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So if you're here tonight and you've never spoken to these guys before and you want to, then there'll be plenty of breaks and chances to network. So make sure you do that, right? That's one of the points of being here. Up there, you have some great, like, sun lounger. There's no sun now. Loungers, tables, there's games and stuff. So when you get the chance, find the people you want to speak to. If you're an investor here, put your hand up. Investor, or if you've ever invested in a company. I know someone over here has, so you can put your hand up. Thank you. Okay, there's a few around, so if you're looking for investors, bug them. Put your hand up if you're a startup. Any startups, put your hand up. Okay, put your hand up if you got lost and turned up here. Put your hand up if you came for the beer. Put your hand up if you came because Tony paid you to come. A lot now, a lot. Okay, there we go. Okay, Shkriljo, Disi. Okay, a round of applause, please, for our panel. Thank you very much, guys.